It's so great to see you, Paul. I started the webinar just a little bit early. I know that we're going to be getting everybody's going to start to come in and join us in just a few minutes. How are you feeling today?
I am doing great. How about yourself? You had a voice challenge, huh?
Yeah, and I apologize to everyone on the call for it. Um, Yeah, I did a lot of talking recently at a conference. Actually, we saw integrated partners there. I saw Rob Sandrew. So I
Oh,
was at Future Proof, and then I came back and lost my voice. There were these things called breakthrough meetings. And so you had 12 concurrently under this tent, and we were all kind of screaming at each other. So it wasn't because I was at a loud rock concert, which I would have loved it. It's just from too much talking.
how was the weather out there? Was it nice?
Yeah. The first day it was raining,
Yeah.
but the California rain, like it came and it disappeared. What was so interesting is it got a little cool there. I was like, how could it be cooler here than it is at home? Yeah, because you're based in the Boston, Waltham,
That's
right?
yep.
Okay, correct, right?
That's right.
And I mean, I'm not too far from you, right here outside of Philly.
That's right.
But I got to tell you, it was the weather was amazing. I just want to give a big shout out to everybody who's joined us so far. Paul and I are just literally talking about the weather. And I thank you so much for joining the call. You guys are in for a fantastic treat with Paul Saganey. And so I'll go through a introduction for him in just a second. But I wanted to wish everybody good afternoon and thank you. Coming to you live from Intentionally in King of Prussia studios right outside of Philly. Our guest today, Paul Saganey, author of not just one, two books. That second book coming out, Making Smart Decisions, How Ultra Wealth Families Get Superior Wealth Planning Results. That's going to be released in in Q1 2024. And today we're going to be talking about this book right here, the how optimizing the financial lives of clients. You are in for an awesome, wonderful treat. So before I introduce Paul, just a few housekeeping introductions. I'm joined today by my colleague right over there, Michael Waltrick. So if you have any technical questions or anything is not working properly on the webinar, let him know, and Michael will take care of it right away. Also to a big shout out to our CEO who's right there. Actually, we've got a whole watch party here, Paul,
I love it. Love it.
for you today. So she's here as well. And this was the brainchild of our CEO and co-founder, Kelly Waltrick. And again, we are so delighted. This is an ongoing series. Every month, we are welcomed by astounding thought leaders and authors in our industry. And so today you are in for quite a delightful conversation that will be extremely valuable to you and your practice. So the book meeting is being recorded. I get a lot of emails all the time. If you've registered for it, you will receive the recording for it. So even if there's something you miss, if you want to watch it later, if you want to share it with somebody, we absolutely invite you to do that. And if you want to recommend anybody to us, but we're particular, you can send it to us at book club at Grow Intentionally. And lastly, we appreciate the courteousness of your time. Understand that this program is educational in nature, and we're not offering any financial specific advice to your circumstances. So please consult with a registered financial professional, or I will give a big plug to Integrated Partners,
Love it.
where where Paul is also the CEO and founder. Paul, I think I saw something that you are approaching 17 billion in AUM, correct?
We just crossed that line the other day. Yes, we did. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So congratulations. Okay, so here we go. Drum roll, please. I want to give my formal introduction of you, Paul. Paul Saganey CFP, co-author of Optimizing the Financial of Clients and soon to be released Marketing, Making Smart Decisions. Paul, you are an award-winning entrepreneur, author, thought leader, someone who has successfully guided integrated partners over the last 27 years to become one of the industry's largest RIAs. I saw you at Future Proof, which is why I lost my voice. Sorry, everybody. I saw you at the Wealthies last week. So integrated partners, you're clearly making a lot of strides and have kicked off a momentum. So congratulations on that. With a network of over 200 advisors nationally integrated, which you launched in 1996, you've been recognized by Smart Asset and one of the industry's fastest growing RIAs. 17 billion in AUM. There's a lot of envy, I'm sure, in this call. And you're headquartered in Waltham, Mass, and a San Diego-based company. So let's also talk that you're a speaker too. So we've got a great shout out for all the people joining this call. I'm sure that you've seen Paul speak at events. Paul, you were most recently recognized by wealthmanagement.com, Think Advisor Luminary, and you are a frequent contributor to Accounting Today, Advisor Perspectives, the Boston Globe, the Boston Herald, the Boston Business Journal. You've been quoted in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Financial Advisor, IQ Financial Planning, Investment News, Plan Advisor, and Proactive Advisor magazine. Congratulations to you. Okay, so I love to kick this off. First of all, how are you feeling, Paul?
That's a lot. That's a big introduction, by the way. I'm doing great, Tina. Thank you so much.
Good. Okay, so this is how we usually start out. And again, our audience appreciates this. Fun fact about Paul here. So, Paul, you are the father of a son, you and Jamie. And really interesting, he's got an unbelievable job right now. He's the director of personnel for which team, everyone? The New England Patriots, the San Francisco 49ers, or the Cleveland Browns. Okay, I'm going to end the poll in just a second here. Okay, momentum is starting here. It's building. Oh, Paul, we're at 70% New England Patriots. Got
Ooh.
7. Oh, we just flipped now. 67, 62 Patriots, 23 49ers, 15% Cleveland Browns. What is it?
Ooh, I must tell you all, I so wish that it was the New England Patriots because I live here in Boston. I'd be able to see my son and grandkids every day, but it's the Cleveland Browns. He has been there for 15 years, if you can believe that, 15 long years.
15 years. Wow, that is outstanding. Yeah, we weren't sure if you had a direct path to Bill Belichick.
I wish.
But that's great. So I imagine you and Jamie go to a lot of games as well.
We do. We get, thank God, it's like only about an hour and 50-minute flight. So it's pretty easy to get there. So go there all.
Oh, that's so great. Okay. And a reminder to our attendees today, look, we're giving away a copy of Paul's 2 books. As soon as we get the second one that comes out, as well as a $50 gift certificate to Amazon to spend as you want here. So first of all, Paul, congratulations on the book. Tell us what inspired you. What was the catalyst for creating it?
Yeah, well, first, thank you so much for doing this, Tina. I love you, your entire team that are intentionally. So to be a part of this book club is kind of cool. It's a little bit more laid back, which I love that format. So, we just had a lot to share with people. So for those who don't know, this was a collaborative project. So Russ Alan Prince, who's really a well-known industry thought leader in the family office space and working with high net worth clients, and Homer Smith, who is truly brilliant and one of the best financial advisors I've ever worked with in my entire career. So we kind of collaborated together, and Russ Alan Prince is a prolific writer. So he's written, my goodness.
Oh, yeah, I saw that crazy amount of books.
He's amazing. And if you could ever see how he puts his book projects together, it's mind-boggling. And so we were talking one day, and certainly Russ, who's kind of in charge of the accounting firm relationships with our high net worth team, and he's like, we have a lot of good stuff here. So let's sit down. We kind of broke it up into different pieces, and what you have in front of you is the end result.
And I want to let everybody know how the chapters and everything is organized. This is a fantastic read. Again, I was just coming back from Future Proof. I was on a plane. Paul, your book fit and your book fit in my luggage. No problem. This is exactly the type of book I think that you want to actually bring in the plane. And so, like, but let's kind of talk about a little bit about the forward. So the forward was written by Joshua, the copy that I have right now, Joshua Bodenstadt, partner at Duffy Crossboden. And he said that the book is not meant for everyone. And there are a couple of different examples of that. So one of the things that we like to share, Paul, is that who is the book, who's the book for? If it's not for certain people, who is it for?
And by the way, I would say if you read only that one section of the book, for those who don't want to go through the entire book, certainly what Josh has to say is very powerful. Both if you're watching this as a CPA or a financial advisor, I think he kind of touches upon both parts. But the book is certainly not for everybody. What we have learned working with over 200 accounting firms and our collective experience in the industry is that not every firm is positioned or wants to get to what we call elite wealth management. That's what Josh is talking about there. Josh also talks about the fact that before I actually met Josh a few years ago, they actually had or were doing some level of financial planning services. And so when he met us and we started talking, it was all about how can we take what they are doing and make it elite. So one of the parts that Josh talks about there, Tina, is the fact that not every firm wants to maybe put the time, effort, or go after what he termed as being elite. And I think all of us on this call, we certainly want to do what's best for our client. That goes without saying. But I think when you work with the wealthiest clients in an accounting firm, those that are worth, say, $50, $100 million and above, there's just more time, more effort. It requires more collaboration of different experts. And so I think what he's trying to say there is not every single firm is in a position, nor maybe wants to delve into that level of depth in terms of putting that elite wealth management together with their accounting clients.
Yeah, I like the way he said it. And by the way, Paul, that I found the principles in the book to be applicable to lots of different types of businesses. Yes, an accounting firm. Yes, an RIA firm. Yes, a hybrid RIA firm. Yes, even a marketing agency. I found like the conceptual, and here's what I loved about the word elite, and this is what Joshua said. In the end, to understand what elite is and why it works, you need to understand what it isn't. This isn't about us or about wealth management. This is about doing the very best job possible for clients. This is growth. This is elite. And the common theme throughout your book here, Paul, was how do you truly serve the client?
And I think for those watching, once again, you have someone in Josh who tried it. He tried to do it maybe the traditional way of adding financial services to an accounting firm. And then when we came along and our process that we follow, and it's a very precise process that we do, but you're right. I mean, once again, it kind of goes without saying, Tina, that it is all about the client and doing what's best for them. And as I like to say, when I first met Josh for the first time over lunch, it's, who does your firm want to be a hero to? So, who do you want to make a difference in their lives? And when you kind of engage in that kind of conversation, and then once again, when you deal with the wealthier clients of an accounting firm, which once again have more complex financial lives, and both personally and professionally, their lives are kind of all over the place. And so, yeah, it is all about the client. And once again, I think we had that added advantage with this particular book that Josh had tried going down one path, met us, and we took it on a totally different path. And so I think that's the power of what we put together here.
So what do you think, Paul? What stops an organization from going to really level up and become a lead? What are the, like, it seems like such a natural decision. Like, of course I want to be a lead, right? Of course I want to run with the wolves. I want to be the best. What is preventing business leaders from going to elite status?
I think it's like any organization that has multiple people, multiple personalities. Everyone has, especially a large accounting firm. Our accounting firms are typically multi, if not 50 to 100 partners. And so therefore, you just can, well, number one is, can you get the partners or the primary partners aligned in the goal to offer elite wealth management? So that's a really big question there is, can you get everybody on the same page? And so I've been doing this now for, as you said, close to 30 years. And so I have seen every single accounting firm out there. And I've also seen the financial planners who attempt to work with accounting firms, and I've seen both what they do well and maybe where they make some mistakes. And so I think in addition to having all the partners aligned, can the partners, once they are aligned, get the message down to the rest of their firm? And so if you've got a very small local firm, that's fairly easy. You have a small get together and tell them what you want to do. But when you get these large multi-office, multi-state accounting firms that have a lot of moving parts to them, it really, for us, Tina, it's getting that alignment put together is really the hardest part of it. And then the second part is to, is the relationship going to work between the CPA and the advisor? And so at the end of the day, life is all about relationships, isn't it? So therefore, can that accounting firm bridge that chasm between wanting to do something and finding that right individual or right team to pull it off? And so, that's what we have found. But I think primarily for me, in my experience, has been, can the partners get alignment inside their firm? Everyone is so busy nowadays. So can we focus on the goal at hand here? And for those advisors watching, if you can kind of master or get over those two hurdles, boy, it really takes off. It's really pretty exciting.
I'm sure that you've seen it all. Again, you built integrated from the ground up, and approaching like a 17 billion is that's enormous. There were things contained within your book that I think that could help companies, figure it out. One of those, and naturally, we would expect that, was on page 46. Is you talk about the 5 main business models. So there are ways for, again, for an accounting firm or for an REA, if they want to get exposure, if they want to really start to serve the uber wealthy, there are different ways to do that, right? And in innovation, there's this idea of either building it or borrowing it. And so what I love is, again, right here, everybody, it's fantastic. So you talk about the 5 different business models on page 46. We could go through them one by one, or you can tell us what do you see as an emerging trend right now for these elite companies? How are they orchestrating it throughout their firms?
Yeah, so I think for accountants, one, they want to be aware of all 5 potential models. And then I think an advisor, a financial advisor who wants to be in this space, you want to be prepared to talk about all 5. And so therefore, the worst thing that can happen is you don't maybe share the pros and cons of each of the different models and get some alignment. But the 5 basically are pretty simple. We coined this phrase: insourcing, outsourcing, co-sourcing. And then certainly accounting firms, the larger ones especially, can go out and actually buy, financial planning practices. If your viewers don't know that, that's become a bit of a trend now, where accounting firms are out there actually buying, local, say, small financial planning models. And so, but for us, we really talk a lot about the 3 main ones, which is outsourcing. And outsourcing has been around forever, by the way. What outsourcing means is it's just reciprocity. Like I, as a CPA, may say to a financial advisor, I'll give you one client, you give me one of your clients. And so we kind of trade back and forth, and that's been going on forever. Actually, it's been going on since the 1996, which was when I put the firm together, Tina, because Massachusetts was one of the first states to allow CPAs to become financial advisors and collect revenue. So therefore, prior to the late 90s, it was all about reciprocity, which we call outsourcing. The second one is insourcing, and that's where the accounting firm says, something, we've got the revenue, we've got the possibilities, the potential, maybe even a talented person out there. So we're just going to hire that individual as an employee of the firm, and then we can control it. We'll try to grow it together, but that's insourcing because you're focusing your capital, your time, your effort on building something within the actual firm. What we have coined and we've trademarked, and where we spend a lot of our time, is called co-sourcing. It's taking the best of what accounting and accounting firms do, matching it with the best of what we do, and kind of putting those together. And we call that the co-source model. And I think as we look at this, that is how we do our our relationships here, they're all co-sourced. We don't do any in or outsourcing. We do all co-source relationships. And I think when you look at once again, the capital expenditures, how do you find the talent? I mean, accounting firms, and the one when we first met Josh, their biggest challenge was just finding the right talent. Think about how you or an advisor has to be in terms of their talent level, their capabilities to walk into clients worth 50, 75, $100 million. They've got to really be at that elite level. And so therefore, by doing co-sourcing, what we can bring to the table is all of our resources, our people, our talent. The accounting firm is bringing their resources and talent as well, but they're bringing the opportunity to talk to more clients. And so those are the 5 ones, Tina, but certainly for us, it really is all about the co-source model. And I could probably spend an hour going through the pros and cons of each, but once again, I think that co-sourcing has been proven now for 30 years to allow us to provide the very best talent, not have the accounting firm have to spend hardly a nickel to put this together in their firm. And then finally, not to worry about managing people and losing people and things like that. That can really be very frustrating for large accounting firms.
Yeah, and along the lines of the co-sourcing was this another term, Paul, that you taught me. Again, I love these book club meetings because I selfishly am getting smarter too from our guests today. But you come up with this notion and this term called the complexity curve. And you even shared with me like your own situation with you and Jamie. And, so the modern themes that you talk about in your book, that you talk about it integrated, that you talk about with your clients are things that you're living and breathing every day. They're not just like they're real life issues. That's what this is real life advice.
It is.
If I were a firm owner, and I don't know how many we have, and again, thank you all for joining us. I do want to buy everybody coffee this week, Paul. I want to buy everybody. This group has been so fantastic. You guys show up every single month. You have no idea. Please, you all have my email, tina@growintentionally.com. I'm buying you Starbucks. I'm so appreciative of your time today. But Paul, not everybody's willing to kind of talk about their own situation, but, it feeds right into this idea of co-sourcing and having the right group of people and having everything under one roof. What is that complexity curve? What's that big takeaway for us here?
Yeah, so the complexity curve is actually the foundation of our entire firm. And so the basic theory of the complexity curve is everybody watching, I don't care if you're an advisor, CPA, or just a consumer, your life has a financial complexity to it, which gets higher and higher as you maybe add more wealth, add a business, maybe an inheritance. And so you work your way up the complexity curve in terms of your personal financial situation. But then probably as important, your life gets more complex over time. So when you and I were talking, Tina, and I had a discussion not too long ago with a potential client for the firm, and we were talking about my situation, and they were kind of comparing our situations back and forth. And so, what I made the statement, I said, over the course of my life, I now have 3 grandkids, by the way. So
Congratulations,
yeah, we've
Paul.
raised our son, got married, and now have grandkids. And so, our estate plan, take that for one part of the plan, has changed 5 times since the day our son was born. And so, and I said to the person across from me, in a similar situation, how many times has yours changed and have you made adjustments to it? And he's like, oh, I've only done it once. And so, but what the complexity curve is all about, it's matching the complexity of your financial situation, your financial life, with the complexity of your personal life. And as people maybe get older, once again, have kids and grandkids, and maybe their wealth continues to grow, you can see that complexity curve really comes into play. And we use this a lot with our CPA partners because we try to get them to recognize where are their clients along the complexity curve. In other words, who is having a complex personal life, and maybe marriages where maybe the kids aren't great with money, or maybe they don't love the person that one of their clients' kids married, or maybe, the grandkids are kind of all over the place, maybe not in a position to assume all of that wealth. And so for me, I spend a lot of time on that part, Tina, with your personal life and where are you? And then the financial part, once again, is as your wealth continues to grow, as businesses grow and become more complex, it's how do you match these 2 things together? And the last thing I'll show you, the little Tina, is this, though, because as we look at our program here, when we built the firm, This firm was designed to help financial advisors and CPAs go after their clients that are way, way up on the complexity curve. So please know if an advisor is watching this or your CPA, look, the vast majority of any financial advisors can work, say, with your rank and file everyday clients. But then, as I say to advisors, like, how far up that complexity curve can a client go before you become a little bit uncertain or a little bit nervous about maybe the advice that you can offer? And so we call that our capabilities. And so here at Integrated Partners, we've spent a lot of time having various parts of our company there to support our advisors as they say, get over their head and maybe over their skis a little bit and maybe kind of work their way at that complexity curve to the point where maybe they're a little bit nervous or maybe uncertain about their ability to provide value.
Hey, Paul, we got a couple of questions. I want to thank you for the questions. William and Keena. Glad just had to just water their throat a little bit. These are great questions, Paul. I think you're going to love these questions. And just a reminder, anybody that asks a question is enrolled into a pool that we randomly select. We've got the AI naturally, like everybody select. But if you ask a question, you automatically get entered for the free books for Paul, the 2 books, as well as a $50 Amazon gift card. So I love these questions, Paul. The first one is this. Great focus on serving clients. This is literally why I named my firm Elite Wealth Management. What? I like that too. What are the top 5 firm characteristics that will lead to successful collaboration in terms of age of firm, size of firm, specialization, etc.? So he's looking for the top 5 firm characteristics that lead to successful collaboration. I would even say, would one of those even be culture? Right? We talk so much about like the right cultural fit. Paul, what's your answer on that?
Oh boy, 5. First and foremost, great question, by the way. I think you want to make sure that the accounting firm actually has the kind of clients that you're looking to serve. Okay, so if you're out there and you want to work with business owners, you want to make sure that that particular accounting firm has the right kind of business owners you want to work with. We call that a practice profile. There's a section of the book that talks about the art of doing this practice profile. For those financial advisors, it's kind of like doing a fact finder on a client. But first and foremost, you want to make sure you've got the right kind of clients. For us, we use something we call 6 times 10 plus 1. So when an advisor goes into an accounting firm, we set the goal, and we do tell the accountants this as well, we're trying to find 6 clients that are 10 times larger than the typical client that advisor works with today. So if you're watching and your average net worth of a client, liquid net worth is around, let's say, $1 million, when you go into the accounting firm, you want to make sure they've got enough clients that say are 5, 10, 15, 20 times larger than your average client today. I think another thing is just want to make sure you're aligned. As I said earlier, it's like pulling teeth if you have a multi-partner CPA firm and one is into it and one is not. Maybe you can kind of divide and conquer and really do a great job with the one that is interested. But I think you also want to make sure that not only is the firm aligned, but do you like them? So this is a relationship, and over time, this becomes a personal relationship, getting together for lunch or dinner and getting to know each other's families. I've seen some of these relationships between the accounting firm and, accountants in the accounting firm and our advisors become, quite close. And isn't that nice when you can develop friendships and develop that certain camaraderie to do what's in the best interest of the clients in a nice, strong relationship. And then I think you want to make sure that you're communicating correctly to the firm. So what is the killer for any relationships between an accountant and the financial advisor? It's just that lack of communication. So before you enter this relationship, make sure you know what is the CPA's expectation for communication. For us, every single time a client meeting takes place, we do a debrief. The debrief goes to the CPA so they see what's going on. Anytime something is going on, we have this little website we use where information is shared on an ongoing basis. So therefore, there is no mystery on what's happening and what's going on. We want them exactly where they are. So communication, building relationships, make sure that accounting firm has the right kind of clients for you, the ones that you really truly want to work with. And then the last thing is this, I know you mentioned age. So, this is important to know. We've been doing this for 30 years and we are now
You
beginning
don't
to,
look it, by the way, Paul.
I appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Yes.
Nice of you to say that. But we're now seeing our CPAs have been with us for 20, 30 years
Yeah,
that are now selling their accounting firm. And what they're doing is they're selling that financial planning, client revenue, if you will, back to our financial advisors. So it's kind of completing the circle. So I think also as you're out there looking for the proper accounting firm, don't so much worry if it's an accountant. I think the average CPA, by the way, is around age 60 right now. Those accountants around age 60, Tina, are filled with a lot of business owners that are also in their 60s. And these are business owners that will be selling their business in the next 5 or 10 years. And so you can kind of connect the dots there when you do that practice profile and you look at the age of the business owners, the age of the CPA, the kind of connections the CPA has with their clients, and you can really start to look for certain fact patterns that are going to allow you to get a significant jump in your financial planning practice. Please know we are not doing this just to make an incremental improvement to a financial
right.
advisor's practice. These are huge jumps, and these are once again finding 6 clients. And so, like I like to say, if it took you maybe 100 to 300 clients to get to where you are today in your practice, this whole system's about helping you run your practice more efficiently to free up your time, and then using that time to go after those next 6 clients that, in my opinion, when I do my coaching, Tina, should be 10 times, if not more, larger than the average client an advisor works with today.
And along those lines, and I'm going to get to another question. William, thank you again for your question. Really appreciate that. Linda Whittick says, great question. Big shout out to you as well. Should the accounting firm and the wealth management firm be located in the same state? That was just something I had. Is that does that synergistically need to be?
That is a brilliant question. Here's what I want to share with you, and I'll do this as quick as I can. Up until 5 or 6 years ago, we were a local New England-based firm. We were somewhere around $4 billion of assets under management. We've gone from 4 billion now to 17 billion in the last 5.5 years. COVID was a big part of that. I think Linda asked the question. Linda, COVID was a big question. Prior to COVID and prior to the acceptance of using Zoom technology to run a client meeting, the answer is yes. We had to have a financial advisor almost in the same town as the accounting firm. And that really did limit our growth. But with the advent of technology and the willingness of clients, especially high net worth clients, to use Zoom technology, actually the firm that Josh is working with there, Josh is a Southern California firm. The advisor working on their family office clients is in Portland, Oregon. And here I am in Waltham, and 2 of our advisors are working with accounting firms in Florida and in Ohio. Our business owner support teams for doing estate planning and business owner planning are in New York and in Connecticut, and they're working with firms all around the country. So I think for those of you watching this, there was a time I would tell you it's best to have a firm in the local area, but now it can be anywhere in the country as long as they're willing to accept Zoom technology. And then we also run classes here through our academy, Tina, where we teach advisors how to use Zoom in such a way that you can hold the attention in the interest of the client. So therefore, we have found that as long as I can hold the interest and attention of the client, and at the end of a call, if they tell their CPA, wow, thank you, that was the best thing ever, we can do Zoom forever. It's when we lose that affirmation that, that wasn't the best meeting, I wish I could meet them face to face, that's when things will start to fall apart. So we spend a lot of time on how to use Zoom, how to use a thing called a remarkable tablet to draw what we talk about.
Yes, I love that remarkable
Yeah.
tablet. That's amazing.
I'm one of the original 100 users of Remarkable. I actually
Are you
found it.
really, Paul? That's fantastic.
From New York to Boston, I read an article on this tech article, and I love it. But for those who haven't seen it, a Remarkable tablet is how we teach and how we draw what we're talking about to a client on a Zoom call. But I think that, to answer your question, Linda, I think that you can do a CPA firm anywhere. So therefore, maybe if you're in your backyard, you don't have the exact firms you want to work with, expand your search. And I think at the end of the day, as long as that accounting firm has the right clients and you have the skill set to be the hero that these accountants are looking for, you can pretty much do it anywhere you want.
That's great. Hey, everybody. I want to know where everybody's calling in from today. This is going to be, we're getting a ton of other questions, but in the meantime, I do want to know where everybody's coming in from in terms of like location and state-wise. I think that would be really good. So my next question, Paul, is going to feed right into the second book. I love this. And Kina asked this question. Great, we've got people from all over. Conshohocken, Las Vegas, Corvallis, Minnesota, Franklin Square, New York, San Diego,
Love it.
Evanston, St. Louis. All thanks to Zoom, right, Paul?
That's made the world a lot smaller, didn't it? I love the technology.
Okay, so Dominic wants to know how to use his. Dominic, this might be something that you take with Paul offline and maybe his coaching. How do you use remarkable tablets? He just purchased one.
First, get some help. There's a bunch of YouTube videos
Right.
on how to organize things and all that. But for us, when we have something called the Integrated Academy, where we're always teaching and training, we want to make sure that we can help advisors kind of go up that complexity curve. And so therefore, the Remarkable is an important tool because what we teach is we don't want our advisors to kind of on a Zoom call bring in a document or use something to explain a tool or technique. We want to draw it right in front of you because what that tells the client that you could create their financial plan right before their very eyes. And so I don't care if they're worth $1 billion, 100 million, or 1 million. If you can sit there and create the plan on that Remarkable tablet and let them see how you're building that structure for working with me on an ongoing basis, it's a much more powerful call. And so I'm sure I'm an Apple person, so I'm sure it could be done on an iPad as well. But for me, having that Remarkable, it's like writing on a paper tablet. I can share the document back with the client at the end of the meeting. It's very easy to share information back and forth. And once again, it also allows, go back to my communication comment, when I'm communicating with the CPA regarding the client I'm working with, it's such an easy tool to share files, share documents and information. So I'm a huge Remarkable guy. I love it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, there was a question about speaking about communication and this whole idea of collaboration. Mary, and hello, Mary. Great to see you here today. What is the best advice to become this amazing collaborative leader that he is? I know, Mary, I noticed the same thing about Paul. Paul, any advice on, again, we've got a lot of leaders on this call, got great advisors on this call. How could we all be more collaborative in our dealings with other people?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, well, how about this? I've learned a lot as we've grown larger and as we've gone multi-states. And as you mentioned earlier, having a headquarters in San Diego and Boston. For me, it's just a lot of reading. It's having good mentors, having a really good coach that I work with to teach me, how to be a better leader of people. I'm a financial planner, by the way. So for those watching, I still have my practice and I run it, with my team around me. So certainly I've taken steps to free up my time to be able to be more effective here at Integrated Partners. But a lot of what I've done over my career of having a practice and having a practice with wealthy clients is what I can teach and really share firsthand. But thank you for your comment, Mary. It's nice of you to say that. But for me, it's about communication. If I can give you all one tip at the end of every single client meeting I learned many, many years ago is I have a second chair sitting with me at every single meeting. And Andre Moore, who you met, Tina, she has a book coming out. She's part of our staff and she's brilliant along with Matt Ackerman. But they have a book coming out on something we call our second chair program. So for me, I have had second chairs in my life for over 25 years once I learned about this. And what that means is every single time I do a client meeting, there is someone sitting on the call or on the Zoom call, second chair, taking notes, asking questions when appropriate, maybe even interjecting a couple of thoughts here or there. So I've got a series now, 5 of these second chairs all around me. And so these second chairs become the ones that actually deal with the client on an ongoing basis. So therefore, for those of you that have large practices, you're looking to maybe work with maybe your 80-20, those 20% that drive 80% of your revenue. By having a series of second chairs around you, you can pull this off. But for me, what I find, Mary, is that after every single meeting, we do a very extensive debrief. The debrief is filled with what we learned, what are the next to-do items, what is everyone's expectation. And so what I have found, especially working with wealthier clients, my entire career is if I meet your expectation on the communication front, in other words, I heard what you said, I'm giving it back to you in a written document. This is where we're going to go next. We both agree, then things really take off. And so I think I do that in my life here at Integrated Partners when I deal with people individually, with my clients, certainly with our accounting firms. And as I said earlier, that's the document that goes to the CPA after every single meeting. This is the debrief in the meeting, what we talked about, what was important, whether it's due items. And I find that, my experience has been, especially as advisors say, join our firm and go through our training. Most don't do that. Some do, some don't. But I think that as a very busy financial advisor, it's tough to do a meeting and you've got so much going on in your head. And how do you sit there and kind of write the whole thing out, a summary letter? So for me, by having a second chair, it's that second chair's, that's his or her role in the meeting. Take the notes, organize the notes, get it out to everybody. And then certainly the other part of the second chair is they're the ones that are getting me ready for the next meeting with the client. And so therefore those second chair and that whole process has been so important to us. And a little plug for maybe a future book club here, Tina, but when Andre comes out with her book with Matt, for what it's worth, my financial planning practice probably has over 400 clients. I deal with 8 of them. So my entire practice
Wow.
that I deal with is 8 families, and therefore, including, and by the way, none of them my own family, I should say. So even my own family, brothers, sisters, aunt, uncles are dealing with members of my second chair program.
Wow.
So for those that, you're looking to leverage what I'm talking about here, the biggest impediment to a successful advisor and working successful with a CPA is lack of time. Your practice is so busy and so much to do. And I get that. I see it every single day. And so where I spend a lot of my time is on coaching. And one of the big coaching parts is get that second chair, have them taking the notes, and Mary, just get the communication going. I find that all the problems that I ever have in my life, both personally and professionally, it's just the communication gap, isn't it? I didn't meet the other person's expectation of what they expected from me. And it's very easy to eliminate that. And you do that by having people sitting with you on meetings. That's the very first step.
So as you were talking about this whole concept of the second chair, which by the way, I'm seeing a lot of activity in the chat. Kina Pettijohn says, love the second chair. And I'll get to your question in just a minute, Kina. And then KD says, does second chair ever lead the meeting? When does that happen? And a big shout out over there to Michael Waltrick. Hello, Michael, who's my second chair right now. You guys can see him right now. Normally it's Melanie Herrera Bridges, who's attending her sister's wedding right now. So big shout out to our Michael, who's done this. KD, that's a great question. Does the second chair ever lead the meeting, and when does that happen?
Yeah, great question. That is a brilliant question, Katie. So the answer is absolutely. Once the second chair and I realize that as we start this meeting and start to maybe go into the discovery process, the second chair and I will recognize pretty early on, if it's going to be a client that I want them to work with, say, versus me, they'll begin to run more of the meeting. So they'll ask some discovery questions. They'll start to maybe, I'll give them the chance to kind of interject and maybe answer a question the client may have. And so the way the second share program works, let's say if you're walking in totally blind to a client, they could be a billionaire or a thousandaire, you and the second chair will know when you want this client to be working with your second chair. So the way it works, KD, is I may do 10% of the meeting, 20%, or if it's the kind of client that I want to work with or I specialize in, I could run 80 or 90% of that meeting. But very early on, we're starting to understand, or I would understand, especially now, my clients only come from referrals. So I know who's coming in the door for me. So I'll make sure my second chair person, in terms of their experience and their talent level, is aligned with that particular client, because I do want them to run more of the meeting, because that allows me at some point, Katie, to pull away. In other words, maybe the second or third meeting, they're going to run that meeting and do more of it. And so I think for those of you that even are looking to maybe start to bring in someone else to handle some of your maybe B and C clients, I hear that all the time, you just start by having the second chair be there. Like, have your clients see them. Oh, there's Tina. I see her, and she's running part of the meeting. And then there could be a future meeting that Tina, you might run and might say at the beginning, I'm sorry, Paul had to run, couldn't be on this particular call, but I'm going to handle this, and what's going to go on today. So I think that once again, the second chair program is designed not only to make my life more efficient, but to begin the process of having those second chairs work with those other clients based on their experience or talent level. But in our firm, all of these second chairs do become, advisors in the firm at some point.
That's great. And Paul, again, Paul is an advisor. He's a certified financial professional. He's a CFP. Here is Keena's question about addressing the all gen or next gen planning. That's what she says is specifically, I'll read it. How are you addressing all gen or next gen planning?
So make sure, I hope I had the question correctly. So how are we handling next gen planning? So
Yeah.
For me, working with wealthier families, it is so important that we get to know the next generation. So therefore, go up that complexity curve. I don't want to be a jerk, but if you got a client that you're managing $250,000, maybe it's not the most pressing thing in the world to meet the next gen. But if that client is worth 25 or $200 million, you got to make sure you're getting involved in the entire family. The way I learned to do it many, many years ago, and the way I even do it today is when it comes to charitable planning, we are typically setting up a family foundation as part of our planning methodology. That is how I'll get to meet the children. Same thing with my son, Danny, at a very early age, and we put our little donor advised fund together. He could show up at the meeting. Yeah, he could say, hey, this is the charity I want to participate. Cool. The funny part of that story, by the way, is one of his charities was Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon was a brand new station back in the day, so we always laugh about that. But I use charitable giving as an important part of family governance and as another way for me to get to meet those families. A lot of our advisors here at Integrated Partners, you might like this. If you're charging fees for planning, charge a family fee. So let's say you're working with the parents or maybe the grandparents. Charge a fee to do the planning. We love to do fee-based planning here, but charge a fee to do the planning, but make it a family fee. We'll also, for this part of the fee for you, Mr. and Mrs. Grandparents, will do this for your kids and grandkids. And the reason for that, it's very easy, is because you want to offer planning services to all the generations down the curve, because you don't want their financial situations to be such that they need to come back and rely on your clients that are retired for their financial well-being. And so therefore, the more you can make sure that the family is aligned, grandparents, children, grandchildren, it means that, one of the biggest impediments to a successful retirement financially is that these grandparents have to support their kids or grandkids. And so there's an easy way potentially to get around that, and that is by offering family financial planning services. So I hope that is enough information. But for me, with wealthy families, multi-$100 million families, it's all about getting the kids involved in the charitable planning, because it allows me to get to know the kids. Next gen, they have a very different philosophy on managing wealth than, say, the grandparents or parents will have. And so therefore, the more I can tap into that psyche and do it as part of the charitable planning of the family, one, those kids get to see me in a very positive light because I'm helping their family impact the community. And number two, I get to know them and what they're all about. So, hopefully nothing's ever guaranteed, but if something happens to the matriarch and patriarch, we'll be in a good position to keep working with the family.
I'm so inspired by that answer on the charitable giving. Wow.
For those with kids, for those with grandkids. Now, my grandson's 8, my granddaughter's 6. We're starting to get them involved. Like,
oh my gosh,
to support. And remember back in the day, my son would actually calculate the value of a stock with a calculator in the piece of paper. Back then you could do it online. And so I think that once again, it just allows the kids to get involved in your life, understand your finances, maybe know what a mutual fund is. And so even the financial advisors or CPAs watching this, it's just a wonderful way to get the family involved. And it could be for a couple $100. It doesn't have to be for millions. It could be for small amounts, but get the family involved. And I find that it's been very effective for me.
It's so inspiring. So we've got 2 questions, and then maybe we could talk about this second book. I don't want to leave this discussion without talking about the Everyone Wins process. So I think that's a cornerstone of both books. But let's talk about, because again, we value your time so much. Our audience, we know that you've got so many things with so many ways to spend your time, and we're grateful that you came here. So speaking of funds, we've got a question. Hi, Ricky. So Ricky asks, do clients trust you more if you endorse Vanguard funds? Do clients trust you more if you endorse Vanguard funds?
I don't think so, Ricky. Certainly Vanguard funds are part of our story of wealth management. We've got a whole wealth management team that helps us with the portfolio building and monitoring process. But I think that Vanguard has a role to play in a portfolio, but certainly not the only role to play. So therefore, I don't think it helps nor hurts. Certainly as an advisor, I can explain the pros and cons of a Vanguard fund, but I don't think it helps or hurts either way. But that's what discovery is about, isn't it? Maybe if I was talking to Ricky in the first meeting and it was all about lowest cost, I like what Vanguard's all about, then I can tap into that fact pattern. But certainly for my clients, Vanguard's a piece of the pie, but certainly not the whole pie by any stretch.
Okay, good. Thank you, Ricky, for the question. Okay, we've got one more question, but I want to talk about the everyone wins before we get to that last question. So, page 61 in this book and in the Smart Conversations, the one Paul's next book, which we might have to have you back again, Paul. My God, this hour is flown by. Here it is. I love this principle that both books contain everyone wins process of elite wealth management developed by your co-author, Russ Alan Prince, executive director of Private Wealth Magazine, leading authority in the private wealth industry, co-author and author of 60 books. So we could have a 1-hour conversation alone around the everyone wins principle. But what's like the one caveat that everyone on this conversation right now should take away from like everyone wins? Even if you're hearing, even for some of our listeners might not have read the book, and certainly they haven't read the second book yet. I love this thesis that you created. So if you could just share with us what are the most important, I guess, tips or takeaways from the everyone wins principle.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I want to give Russ Alan Prince all the credit because that is his concept. And matter of fact, he wrote an entire book about everyone wins.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd
there
recommend.
is a book.
Yeah, he's brilliant, by the way. So for what it's worth, I have learned so much from him. And my entire career has been about working with business owners, high growth companies, and wealthy families. But now that he's kind of involved in running our family office activities, I have just learned so much from him. He's brilliant. But I think obviously everyone wins kind of makes sense. Everyone around the table has to win. The experts at the table, the client, the financial advisor, the CPA, everybody has to win. But I think when Russ talks about that, what he's really talking about is meeting the client's expectations. In other words, every client's going to meet with you or attend the meeting with a certain expectation of what's about to happen. And especially as they go up that complexity curve, because this may surprise all of you, but we're not, you and I are not the first advisor they've ever talked to in their life. They are surrounded by advisors. And so therefore, what makes you different? And so for us, it's about just tapping into that client's expectation. Maybe it's what they want to accomplish in that meeting, in a longer relationship. What are the outcomes they're looking for? Russ talks about that all the time. And I have seen him talk to billionaire families. I've seen him talk to CPAs that work with very wealthy families. And he's always talking about expectations and outcomes. And are we managing to those outcomes and expectations? And then, as he'll say, how can we all collectively help to make those expectations and outcomes a reality? And so I think when he talks about everyone wins, I'm giving the very down and dirty explanation, Tina, to what is certainly a much more complex idea here. But I think that, I don't want to say this to be impolite in any way, but many times advisors approach a meeting or a client without this sense of wonderment or like, I'm going to learn something new. In other words, even the act of going to a meeting with something in your hand you want to show somebody tells me right off the bat that it's your agenda. You want to get something across to them. So try this. We teach our advisors, show up with nothing. I show up with a pen or my remarkable, and I have nothing else. So I will literally begin to create and build right in front of your very eyes because I'm asking questions. I'm understanding what you want to accomplish, meeting your expectations and learning about your outcomes. And so I think that what we try to teach is just drain your brain, show up and just talk to somebody. And if you learn how to ask, there's something we put together here at the firm called asking great questions. So the big thing is don't worry about having great answers. Everyone gets nervous. Oh, how am I going to work with wealthy people? I don't have all the answers. No. You don't need all the answers. That's why for me, the team that I work with for these wealthy clients is probably 8 to 10 different people. I'm just the one in the middle doing the communication and kind of being the circus leader, if you will. So It's learning how to ask really great questions and stop worrying about great answers. The great answers come from other experts that are so much smarter than me and so much better than me. I just have to be really, really good at asking great questions to make sure the process moves along.
Part of what you've also incorporated into the book, I want to show you guys a couple of things. Number one, like, are you seeing this page? Like, Paul literally has the questions right here for you on the things to ask. And then another part of the book that I loved, and I'm going to just hold it up to my screen right over here. Again, what's in here is a framework for communications, for getting those answers. And I guess to your word, I love the word wonderment, really being truly curious about your client. And instead of you showing up to a meeting and talking about you really understanding why they're there and what's going on in the first place. And I love that literally the probe question right here. Again, if you're a CFP, and I'm not just saying this, but if you're a CFP and you're working with clients, I think that this is indispensable. It's been well organized, even from a typographical and graphic design perspective, making it so easy for you to just hit the high points and get in and extract a few cornerstone ideas. And I love this quote too that I took from the book. Do not, as is common amongst professionals, make the conversation solely about themselves, their practice, or their firm. Great work here.
It's
So,
like I get that, Tina,
yeah.
all of these great questions we put together lead to what we call disturbing tracks. And so in other words, each advisor is trained to ask a question, a great question, and then that question leads to maybe explaining to that particular person you're sitting across from that, their expectations and outcomes are not aligned with what they're currently doing. And so there is a whole process to doing it, but for those viewing, it's all about just asking these great questions, kind of working your way to these disturbing tracks and using the remarkable to kind of draw it out. So it kind of
Love
all
it.
mixed together.
Paul's got such a great framework for everything. I feel like everything is a replicable standard operating procedure. I love how you have it all systematic. We have a great question from Bonnie. Bonnie, thank you for the question. Great to see you here today. Do you do collaborative marketing or events with your accounting firm?
Great question, Bonnie. So we have our own marketing company called In Touch Innovations. We started up almost 20 years ago now. So what happens when we work with an accounting firm is we actually, the reason it's a separate company is we want to give the CPA comfort and confidence of knowing that we're not touching their data. But the separate company called In Touch, we built our own databases and it has its own marketing team. So we upload all the CPA's clients and we put them into different categories: business owners, high net worth, retirees, young married couples, wherever it may be. And then, yes, we will offer them either educational classes. They go on to we actually, under the brand of the CPA firm, not our brand, but under their brand, we send out these weekly educational tidbits about what's going on in the environment today. Never salesy, never about products, but all about, a planning methodology or something maybe new that they should be considering doing, once again, based on the silo that they're in. So In Touch Innovations, when we add up all of our CPA clients, we have over a couple of 100,000 clients sitting in our existing accounting firms. And so not all of them are on our databases. We're really kind of working towards that. But you can imagine that, for us, when we can get the messaging out there and even during really difficult times, in the stock market, let's say, when people get nervous and upset, we can really be the ones to deliver information and be there. Hopefully, when they raise their hand for help, they're going to lean on us for that help.
That's fascinating, Paul. When's this next book coming out? Is it in January?
Yeah, and so this next book, just so you all know, it's a book that's written to the clients of the accounting firm. So the first book is written mostly to advisors and to the accountant, so they know what we're doing and how we do it. This next book is actually a book where each of our CPAs will write the foreword. So it's designed for each accounting firm. And then that book will basically be delivered and sent out to their highest net worth clients, or more complex clients, I should say. And that book, once again, is about making smart decisions. And so, it's not about technical things. It's somewhat common sense, if you will. But certainly it is directed to clients that have more complex lives financially and personally. and kind of giving them a glimpse into the financial services industry and maybe why up until now the financial services industry has not met their expectations, and it gives them kind of a map to follow and what to look for as it pertains to them, once again, meeting their outcomes and expectations.
Yeah, and so that book again, Making Smart Decisions, How Ultra Wealth Families Get Superior Wealth Planning Results, released in Q1 2024. We will let you all know. And kudos to you. I thought that was a great, if anybody gave me a copy of that book as I was vetting different uh, wealth managers, financial planners, I would be glued to them. I would bring them home to mom for dinner. That would have been huge. So many people are saying that this was informative. So many great ideas here. Linda Whittick, one more question. Did you say In Touch Innovations was internal to your company or a third-party company?
That's a great question. Right now, it's internal. Years ago, it was external to multiple companies were using it and broker dealers were using it, but it just became such a large part of our story and what we're doing that now it's become an internal solution only. And so, but once again, everything can be customized, and these databases are built in such a way that we can get the right message at the right audience. And when you look at what's out there for marketing services, unfortunately, no one could allow us to target our messages effectively. So unfortunately, it is internal. Years ago, it was external. That's why some may recognize the name, but now it's done internally.
Well, I want to give you the biggest, give everyone here putting a couple of parts here. I love what Keena says. This is funny. Family fee avoids family flip feud.
I hope you like that idea, but that's taken a hold in our firm for, once
So,
again, those clients that you
yeah.
want to meet the next gens, let the grandparents or parents pay for their fees, and that gets you open introductions to their kids. And I think it's a great way, because I know we're all worried about that and everyone's worried about next gen, but I think it's hopefully an easy thing to do.
Paul Saganey, again, the response is overwhelming. Great session. People really, we all enjoyed, learned something from you. Thank you so much for making our lives, our organization stronger. Your leadership is such a shining example. I expect that we'll just see more and more of you this year as Integrated Partners has a tremendous breakout. And yes, we will have Matt and Andrea come on for that next book. We will absolutely take you up on your offer. Thank you. I feel great. It's just the voice. So Paul, congratulations to you and Jamie, your son, your grandchildren. Thank you so much for sharing today. We really greatly appreciate it.
Tina, you're the best. Thank you. And thank you all for joining me. And Tina, it was wonderful to have you here. So thanks for that.
Okay. Take care. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.